Hello, I'm trying to figure out how difficult it will be to beat WarCraft 3 without using any heroes. It's time to protect some elves. Rules reminder: do not use any heroes, as they do not exist. That also means that I can't accept most of the quests. Allied heroes are allowed, I can't control them. Heroes can be used if it's necessary for the mission objective and to complete the game on hard difficulty. Enemies at the gate. The first mission is always the easiest. We need to kill an enemy paladin who leads a joint force of orcs and humans. Finally, they are working together. But we are here to ruin this ideal world. I tried to hire some furballs, but they only work with Tyrande and refuse to cooperate with regular elf archers. So I just built a bunch of archers, found a healing fountain and launched an assault on the enemy base. It went pretty well. Then the paladin showed up, he resurrected all his fallen forces, which doubled the trouble. But then he made a classic mistake. He left his army behind and decided to fight alone outside of the base. I blocked the path with invisible archers, and the paladin couldn't do anything. He tried using Divine Shield but forgot to run away. So once the shield wore off, he went down as well. Daughters of the Moon. Here we have only Tyrande. We have no other options but to use her. But let's make it a bit harder. She must not receive or deal any damage or to get any status effects. So I started carefully avoiding all Doom Gods, making sure Tyrande wouldn't be harmed. And once I crossed the bridge, there was a barricade and I couldn't pass. There were just no options. So yeah, I had to break my own rule, at least to destroy this roadblock. And once I broke through, I got access to my archers. Now, I not only had to get to the end of the level, but also make sure Tyrande wouldn't get any unnecessary attention or damage. The next section had a small orc outpost fighting undead, and we need to secure this area. I carefully cleared the creep fiends, making it easier for orcs to defend. Now I could move my archers and Tyrande to the portal for the next section. There we get some hunters and a healing fountain. Next section had some shades. They can spot invisible units. So I cleared them and then ran into Doomguard blocking the way. I decided to kill him too. And to make things easier for Tyrande, I ended up killing everyone in this section. My invisible units were amazing here. After the second healing fountain, we got ballistas. Clearing some trees opened a path to the Hydralisk, who of course only accept commands from Tyrande. On our path was a small undead base, so I started sieging it. It had enough forces to break part of my army, so at one point I was left with only one siege unit against an acolyte who kept repairing everything. It was painfully slow. Then I checked the corner of a map and found a bunch of archers and even more ballistas just waiting here. With them I finally cleared the base, but the mission didn't end. Turns out I needed to actually bring Tyrande here. But what's that road? Wait, are those trees to the side of the enemy base? Seriously? And what's over there? Another path right from the last fountain? So you can entirely skip the whole undead base without fighting. Did you know that? That was a big surprise for me. So I took Tyrande and used the new hidden path just to see how easy it could have been. The Awakening of Stormrage. Here we need to awaken Malfurion before the undead reach his lair. We've got an interesting kind of countdown. The number of trees between Malfurion and the undead. So what do we need to do? Clear the orc base, defeat the forest spirits, and lead Tyrande to the horn. Shouldn't be that difficult, right? I started expanding, hoping to build up quickly and push through the orc base. But just as I began massing more forces, I noticed there were only about 50 trees left. I was barely 5 minutes into the mission. Did I already lose? I picked up my ancient defenders and threw everything I had at the orc base. And due to my usual rule, since Tyrande doesn't exist, I had to destroy every production building and tower before I could move her safely. But now, only 22 trees left already? The push was painfully slow. The enemy Blade Master was slicing my archers like butter. I had to rely on constant reinforcements just to stay in the fight. I was close to finish destroying the base. 9 trees left. Definitely not enough time to finish the mission. But I decided to push ahead just to see how far I could get before losing. I cleared the base. Only 6 trees remaining. Wait, are the undead slowing down as they get closer to Malfurion? I took everything I had and ran to the spirits. First one went down quick. Still 6 trees left. Second one has stronger skills and wrecked most of my army, but eventually fell too. 3 trees left. I moved Tyrande closer, so she wouldn't have to run through the entire map later. Once the last spirit down, 2 trees left. I guess these last trees are just sturdier, or maybe the undead are just tired. The Druids Arise. Here we need to lead Malfurion to the den of the Druids of Atalon. But the developers clearly want us to admire the mighty ability of trees. Walk. So, surprise surprise, we have no gold mine and the closest one has only 2000 gold. That's not much. We have to save every penny and every unit we've got. We are dropped right in the middle of the orcs and humans fighting the undead. But for some reason, most of the forces don't react to me. Still, my gold mine collapsed quickly, so I had to move. And of course, after every cutscene, Tyrande and Malfurion are alive again, so I have to kill them every time. I grabbed another 2k gold mine and started assaulting the nearby human base. Turned out to be a good idea. The humans had just left their base, so they were an easy target. They still had decent forces, and without a large army, it was slow, but doable. With a careful push, the human base went down pretty easily. And I got another 2k gold mine. Nice. Ahead was a forest filled with skeletons who can tear my army apart, ghosts who can possess my units, and treants. The deeper I went, the worse it got. More and more enemies. I just lost everything. I rebuilt my army and most of the enemies had already respawned. Still too many ahead, and I had no income at all. Tried to clear them, failed. Tried to run through, even worse. So yeah, I reloaded. This time I started pushing carefully, but fast enough to clear the area before the enemies respawned. Turns out I could destroy the ghosts that were causing the resurrection loop. There was a small path leading to them. Once I got to them, it became real easy to pull every enemy one by one. And now the forest was clean, and the final challenge was the satyr base. We were pretty weak without the crazy forest supporting them, but to finish the mission I actually needed to bring Malfurion to the den. So I built an altar and resurrected him right at the required location. Brothers in Blood. It's a no-build mission, and in the first section we have Tyrande and Malfurion, who, of course, won't help us. Without their damage output and healing abilities, I need to find and clear only the main path. It might not be too hard if I don't try to clear everything, but there are a lot of spiders ahead. They slow, they net, and worst of all, they poison. And without any healing, that's a real problem. There's a big room full of eggs and aggressive spiders. I failed, took a straight fight there, and tried to run through, hoping the regular units could trigger the next section. Turns out, they can't. I actually have to bring Tyrande and Malfurion here, which means I have to clear this room. So I reload, tried to carefully pull each spider one by one. It took time, and poison kept draining my army. In the end, I didn't need to clear the entire room. I cleared just enough for my forces to sneak around, avoiding the rest of spiders. And finally, I brought Tyrande and Malfurion through. Sorry, Furballs, this is not your day. Now, the Malfurion section begins. We must lead him deep into the caverns to wake up the Druids of a Claw. I tried to run past the first enemies, but the archers had another plan. I took the fight, which unfortunately pulled a Banshee, and she possessed my Druid of a Talon, so I lost both of them. And I can trigger the circle without Malfurion. I reload. I pulled the archers one by one and killed them safely, so I could bring Malfurion to the circle without any trouble. From here, pulling 2 enemies at a time isn't too bad. Druids can use Cyclone to disable them for a bit. That helps a lot. I failed to sneak around the next enemy, so I had to fight. Blew through all my mana on Cyclones, but it worked. Then come the dragons. And they are nasty, strong against my units, and they pulled everyone down to low HP. I had to pause and wait for a bit. I scouted south and found a mana fountain, but it was guarded by dangerous skeletons, and I didn't want to risk it, so I skipped it. Once my forces recovered a bit, I cleared the rest of dragons and moved to the next area. Here we need to avoid some bears, because we can't kill them. At least the game restores HP for my druids, so they are usable again. Turns out I can actually avoid not only the bears, but also the spiders. I found a door, guarded by patrolling bear, break it, and there is a safe spot. I decided to bring Malfurion here. But there were some spiders ahead, so I used my Druids to clear them. There were also some dark mess, but I cleared everything and moved Malfurion to required position. Next comes the Tyrande section. And of course, we start with a fight, so I immediately hide her. I'm glad she doesn't have a true shot tower here. That means I can say with a clear conscience that she didn't affect the fight at all. I scouted south, found a glowing book and thought maybe it's an ally, but nope, that's just a tome of knowledge and I can't even use it. Then I lost my Huntress to the enemy, reloaded, and still lost the Huntress in the initial fight. At that point I decided to continue with fewer forces. I went north, built a wall of invisible units to block the enemies from reaching my archers. It took time to clear the area, but I did it without taking a hit. I triggered the first circle, turns out it can be done without Tyrande. Perfect. Then I moved south for the second circle. Fought with some guardians, one of them got stuck behind the table and had less range than my archers, so I safely took him down. I found some reinforcements and unblocked the door. Finally, I could proceed. Fought some more guardians, rescued more units that were kidnapped by spiders, and found another group on the left side. After the portal, there's a healing fountain. Next section has more guardians running in circles, but I was able to pull them into my invisible trap one by one. The last segment was the same, but I messed it up, got punished by the keeper, and reload. Second try, clean execution. Finished them off and finally rescued Illidan. A destiny of flame and sorrow. Here we finally can't use Illidan, who is very strong hero. There are 2 satyr bases that constantly attack me. The green one has kind of heroes who can debuff my units. The orange one sends endless waves of skeletons, weak but numerous. There's a gold mine in the center. Looks promising. I attempted to assault the green base, but there were just too many satyrs and treants. They overwhelmed my forces. On the second attempt I failed again. The terrain is terrible for my army, and to make it worse, demons started attacking my new base, and orange attacked at the same time. I barely held on at the cost of the entire new base. So I rebuilt it again, and got smashed again. And again. And again. It was like never-ending cycle. Just draining all my resources trying to protect that base. So I tried striking the demon gate, hoping to stop their invasion. But there were too many demons guarding it, and while I was busy, the satyrs broke my base. It's time for a new plan. I reload. I tried rushing the demon gates, but the satyrs backstabbed me and I got smashed by demons. Then I tried attacking the satyr base on the south. Much better, thanks to a wide open space. But the enemy had strong units and used animate dead to bring them back. But I succeeded on the next attempt, probably because I remembered to bring reinforcements this time. The second satyr's base was much easier. Skeleton spam is nothing compared to treants and spells, and honestly, I should attack it first. Finally, I approached the demon gates. It was still hard, the Doom Guards are no joke, but without satyr's attack it was much more manageable. And once the gates were destroyed, Illidan had to take the skull. But we were not going to let him. He should avoid his fate. I started clearing out Tichondrius' side, but he is not appreciate that. It was a slaughter. My setup was tanky healers, Druids of a Claw, with archers in the back. It was still bad. Tichondrius wiped out my bears like they were paper. His regeneration is insane, and he has divine armor, which barely takes damage from anything except chaos. Still, I could see that he is not invincible. He was losing health slightly faster than he can regenerate it. But unlike Grom from the Orc campaign, he actually fights back. Eventually, I ran out of resources and he smashed me, so I reload. This time, I went straight for him. It worked much better. There wasn't much room for infernals to land, so I could deal with them quickly but not without casualties. He puts my units to sleep, nukes them with Shadow Zap and summons 2 infernals. Tichondrius was still too strong, but with a constant wave of units, I could keep the pressure up and reduce his HP. After 5 minutes of intense fighting, he was almost dead. There's no way we will he just fully healed. I guess I really do need to take the skull with Illidan. Without it, I can't proceed. The skull makes Illidan way stronger, chaos damage, and a new demon form. But I still refuse to use his power. He doesn't get to become that. The problem is, Tichondrius doesn't get weaker. So I was broken again, and I reload. I tried taking the skull and fighting him again, but now he started getting reinforcements from the gates. More Felstarkers, more Infernals, and even new Doom Gods. That's too much to handle. I failed. Again and again. Finally, I decided I had to clear the gates first to stop his reinforcements. Kept him busy with bears and archers, and succeeded, but I lost everything. So I rebuilt my entire army, stockpiled resources for reinforcements, and launched one final strike. With Tichondrius at low HP, I grabbed the skull and finally, after 5 brutal minutes, banished Tichondrius from Azeroth. It can't get harder than this. Twilight of the Gods. This is insane. And I haven't even started the Frozen Throne expansion yet. In this mission we need to protect our base for 45 minutes. Let me quickly explain why this is much harder than it sounds. At first, the enemy attacks approximately every 2 minutes, and the waves are insanely huge. And I also think that Blizzard slightly increased the difficulty, because almost every wave has an extra 3 to 4 meat wagons, which makes defense even worse. And the second, normally you would have 2 powerful heroes. Malfurion, who can cast healing for all nearby allies, and his cooldown is low enough to use it in every wave. And of course Tyrande, whose Starfall ultimate deals massive AoE damage, enough to delete almost any wave, though it has a longer cooldown. And that means that my forces are less tanky, die faster, and deal less damage overall. And of course, the enemy sends not only undead, but demons, fell stalkers, doom gods, and infernals. And they are backed by some of the most powerful enemy heroes, leading almost every wave. And then you realize there are 45 minutes ahead of pure pain. For example, in my first try, the human base was defeated after 7 minutes. I just couldn't hold it. The orc base held just a bit longer. Better defenses, but wider positions, which made it vulnerable. It fell in 8 minutes. And my own base, I didn't even try. My first somewhat good outcome was 12 minutes of protecting the orcs. And then my base, let's say there were still 70 more minutes to protect when I was already dead. I tried hippogriffs, archers, ballistas, dryads, druids, mercenaries, but nothing could help me stably protect against the undead. I'm not saying that this is impossible, but for me it's no go. And I tried to protect the human base for as long as possible. And eventually I ended up using hippogriff archers, fast and durable enough to snipe high priority targets like meat wagons in a backline. I tried everything for the best possible defense of the human base, but they still were broken after 11 minutes. At least I had a big chunk of hippogriffs left and some powerful furballs with chaos damage to help fight ground units. But even that wasn't enough. Not even close to victory. My own base was destroyed with 13 minutes still left on the timer. And I'm not saying that this is impossible. Maybe I'm just bad. So how am I supposed to protect for that long? I started an investigation. To defeat the enemy, I need to understand their behavior. The undead in this mission are actually producing their units. They are not just spawning out of nowhere. Yes, they are using cheats to make their production 10 times faster. So basically, if I disable their production buildings, they will have nowhere to build from. The cheesiest strat here is using goblin landmines. You should take your heroes, bring some mines and an invincibility potion, and you can easily snipe the necropolis and acolytes so they can't rebuild. You must repeat it 3 or 4 times and the enemy base is gone. You'll win in 5 minutes. I also remember Calvert Muffin's HDQ 2021 speedrun, where he let the undead destroy the human base, then blew up their base with mines. And again, mines. But why does it work so well in this particular base? And why are the undead building somewhere there in the first place? Let's take a look at how the undead behave after they destroy a base. They spawn 3 acolytes who immediately start summoning new buildings. Thanks to their cheats, construction is insanely fast. And the acolytes are invincible, at least for the first 20 seconds. And in the old base, they also deconstruct all their buildings. Which means they only ever have one base at a time. And on top of it, they protect the new base with 4 of the strongest heroes in a game. So if I want to strike fast, I have only a few seconds to hit the new base before it becomes active. Meanwhile, Archimod is still out there happily finishing off the human buildings. I tried pulling the heroes away. That didn't work really well. There's always one hero who refuses to take the bait. I gave it a few tries. No success. And if I will decide to kill that one hero, once I finish, the base is fully active. So I had no other option but to give up. Unless the structure position on the orc base might be different. Troll's base was destroyed, almost nothing was left, and Archimon was busy destroying the orc base and found me. And on the next attempt, Archimon didn't find me. That's a success. I rushed in, destroyed the necropolis, killed all acolytes, and for some reason their creeps just didn't work. The undead had nothing left but 4 lonely heroes, and they could not do much without their endless army. One by one, I cleared 3 of them, leaving only Archimond. In the final minutes, I decided to take him out too. It was so close. I barely succeeded. But in the end, the mission is over. I beat the entire Night Elf campaign without using a single hero. Wait, Malfurion? What are you doing? No, stop. Don't touch it, don't touch it. I guess I had to reload. I saved my ground forces with full balls, cleared the undead base again, and this time even more efficiently. I finished off Archimond and his backup heroes too. And this time, I skipped the cutscenes just to make sure Malfurion doesn't try anything else.